Hey students, so I don't know if you've picked up on it, but I do not have the typical Eastern North Carolina accent. When I was growing up, I moved to several different places, and each of those places shaped a little bit about how I talk and my accent that I have. But it's not just how I talk. A lot of things about me were shaped by how I grew up. Because the different places I grew up, their school systems were different, so how they graded was different. So I struggled sometimes in school to feel like I understood what they were teaching or how they taught, and to make good grades. So that affected how I thought about myself. But also, I struggled to make friends, like how people interact and how people got to know each other and spent their time. It was different in different places. So I always felt like I was kind of an outsider. I didn't really connect with people well. I was a little shyer. I didn't have very many friends. And the things that people like to do in different places around the country is different. And so I never really felt like I was able to develop skills in a lot of sports and stuff because I just didn't know how to do those things. So I grew up feeling really insecure about who I am and feeling really like I didn't quite fit in and like I was just a little awkward or a little less gifted than other people in a lot of ways. And that made me really feel insecure about who I was and insecure about what I could become. And I always thought about myself as that's just how I'm gonna be, that I'm never gonna be different, that I'm always gonna be the awkward one, or I'm always gonna be the one that doesn't make a lot of friends, doesn't have friends, doesn't have a lot to say or influence in other people's lives. But the truth is, we do change. We all change. The people that we hang around with, the people we spend time with, the ways that we spend our life and the experiences that we have all change us. The biggest thing that changed me was meeting Jesus. I know that sounds cheesy because we're in church youth group and stuff, but reality is that's true. The biggest change in my life came from meeting Jesus, because when I got to meet him in high school, he began to reveal to me who I really am, and he began to shape how I think about myself, how I think about him, how I think about other people and the world, and the decisions that I make. He began to change me. And the reality is, Jesus changes everybody. When we meet Jesus, we're changed. We see that in Zacchaeus' story too. Zacchaeus is the guy we've been talking about for the last few weeks. And his story in Luke 19 tells us that Zacchaeus was the guy he was a Jewish guy, but he was working for the Romans. And he was collecting taxes from them and then giving it to the Romans. And he would actually collect more than what he would require to collect, and he would pocket the extra for himself. And he was getting rich off of stealing from his own people. So you can imagine that Zacchaeus was hated by his own people, but he was also pretty despised by the Romans because the Romans saw him as a Jew. And so Zacchaeus didn't have a place to fit in either group. He kind of fell in between. And I'm sure Zacchaeus probably felt pretty awkward in that. He probably felt pretty alone in that he didn't connect with his own people and was pretty hated by them, but he also didn't connect with the Romans either. So that left Zacchaeus feeling kind of awkward and insecure about himself, I'm sure, just like how we can think of ourselves. And Zacchaeus, out of that thinking, he makes some decisions about how to live his life. In fact, he hears that Jesus is coming into town, and Jesus has quite a reputation by now. He's got this huge crowd of people that are gathering just to see him, and Zacchaeus himself wants to know more about Jesus. But I kind of feel like Zacchaeus didn't feel like he was secure enough to go to Jesus on his own and to talk to Jesus himself. So Zacchaeus decides he's going to climb a tree instead, because Zacchaeus couldn't be with his own people. They wouldn't receive him and talk to him. And he didn't feel like he could go to Jesus. So instead, to know more about Jesus, he's going to hide and isolate in this tree. But the cool thing is, Jesus sees him right there. Jesus knows that Zacchaeus is right there and goes right to him. Instead of avoiding him like everybody else, Jesus goes right to him and calls to him by name and says, Zacchaeus, hey, come down out of the tree. I want to be part of your life. I want to move in and be part of your life and get to know you, and I want you to get to know me. I have things for you. I want to go to your house today. And the Bible tells us in Luke 19 that Zacchaeus comes down out of the tree and is excited to meet Jesus. But here's the other thing. The whole crowd of people that are around Zacchaeus and around Jesus, they know who Zacchaeus is, and they only see Zacchaeus the sinner. In fact, they start grumbling and complaining because they know that Jesus is saying he's going to go to Zacchaeus' house. And they say, well, how can Jesus go to the house of a sinner? Because that's all they see Zacchaeus as. And I'm sure that's how Zacchaeus sees himself, because he's hearing that from everybody else. And Zacchaeus is shocked that Jesus would want to go to his house, but he's also excited and he's willing to go with Jesus. And that's where we're going to kind of pick up Zacchaeus' story. In Luke 19, it says this, "But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, 'Lord, look, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor. And if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount.' And Jesus said to him, 'Today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost.'" See, where all the other people saw Zacchaeus the sinner, and even Zacchaeus himself saw the sinner and the person who had done something wrong or didn't fit in with everybody else, and had hurt other people, Jesus saw potential. Jesus saw more than what Zacchaeus had done. He saw the kind of guy that Zacchaeus could be. And that's so cool, because it's the same for us. Jesus sees us right where we are, but he sees past all of that. When Zacchaeus comes down out of the tree and meets Jesus, he's changed. He begins to change how he thinks about other people, change how he thinks about money and possessions, and gives them away. He becomes a different person right then and there. He's changed because he's met Jesus. And the Bible tells us in 2 Corinthians 5:17 that anybody who comes to Jesus is changed. It says, "Therefore, anybody who comes to Jesus is a new creation. The old ways have gone, the new has come." That's such a cool truth, because it's telling us that anybody, not just the person who does it all right, not just the person who fits in and has a lot of friends, not just the person who cleans up all their mess and gets everything right, but anybody who comes to Jesus is changed. Anybody who comes to Jesus is a new creation. They're made new right then. That's an amazing truth that we can hold on to, because where we can see our faults and where we can see the things that we've done wrong or the ways that we don't fit in or the things that we're awkward about, Jesus sees so much more. With Jesus, it's always personal, because he sees your potential. He sees who you were made to be. He sees who you are called to be. And he wants you to discover that too. He wants you to know your potential. But here's the thing. We have to be willing to trust him. Just like Zacchaeus was, we have to be willing to come out of the tree and go with Jesus. We have to be willing to let him into our life and let him show us what that potential is like. But if we trust him, and if we are willing to meet him and go with him and spend time with him, then we're changed. Because spending time with Jesus always changes us. It changed me, it changed Zacchaeus, and it'll change you too. But you have to be willing to trust Jesus. And here's the other cool thing. Jesus puts people in our life who help us discover our potential too. You have people right now in your life who know you and know your potential. People like your parents, but also people like your small group leader. Your small group leader is there because they care about you, and they know that Jesus sees so much more in you than you even see in yourself right now. And they want you to know that too. They want you to discover your potential. They want you to know what it's like and how to spend time with Jesus. They want you to know what it's like to grow in a relationship with him. So talk to them tonight. As you go to your small group time, I would love for you to talk more about what this all means. I would love for you to talk about what are the things in your life that you most want to see changed, or what are the things about you personally that you most want to see changed, and why is that? But also talk about how do we spend time with Jesus so that we can discover our potential. What does it mean to go with Jesus and spend time with him? How do we do that in real practical ways? But then also talk about who are the people in your life that Jesus might use to help reveal your potential. Because with Jesus, it's always personal, because he knows your potential and he's calling you to it. So I pray you have a great small group time tonight.